Are we ready in the room?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Eugene, go ahead and upgrade the Perry Street.
Barrow St, sure.
This is Community Board 2, the Landmarks Committee, the first of two meetings for this month of October. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 applications. I'll give just a brief introduction because we have some new presenters tonight. We'll have the presentation, questions from the committee, questions from members of the board who are not on the committee, questions from the public, and then at the end of the meeting we'll have a business session to formulate the resolutions. I'd like I'll say this for every meeting because we don't have always get to other presenters. It's very important that we know definitively a week before the meeting whether you're going to present and what you're going to present, because making the schedule is extremely complex, and one dropout or addition can make a big difference in how the whole schedule goes. Thank you. The first application for 70 Perry Street, there was what looks like a lost in translation resolution application, and I'll read a replacement application in its entirety for what's published. The application is to replace 2 wooden panels with glass in the entrance doors. Begin and share your screen when you're ready, please.
Okay, the person who is what we had been informed was going to be the presenter is not in attendance at the moment. So if there's somebody else here at the meeting who's here for 70 Perry, please raise your hand so we can promote you to panelist. Okay, I'll ask one more time. If there is an attendee here for 70 Perry Street, please raise your hand. All right, well, seeing no presenter, we'll have to move on then to 594 Broadway.
If you'd look for that person and
yes, Daniel Ash.
The application is to install a flagpole and banner.
And Daniel Ash. Okay, perfect.
Great, Daniel. So if you can, you can share. You should be able to share your presentation.
See, I don't see a share option. Oh, sorry. No, I see it.
There you go.
Thank you. So my name is Daniel Ash. I work with Walter Gorman.
Excuse me, can you fill the screen with the picture?
It's not full screen?
Yeah, we're getting all the edges of your desktop and so forth.
Oh,
You go down to full screen mode.
Just enlarge whatever you're talking about, and we'll see.
Oh, sorry, full screen mode. There you go.
Thank you.
Sorry.
There, okay.
Now it's
perfect.
Good. Great. So my name is Daniel Ash. I'm an engineer with Walter Gorman Consulting Engineers. We were working for GFP, the owner of the building, who was looking to put in this flagpole. And we've talked to Landmarks, and they informed us about similar work that was done in the neighboring buildings and how they consider our building, which is this one here, together with the building to the left and right of it, kind of as one building in their eyes. So between 588 and 598 Broadway. So they wanted to see the relation of what we're proposing to do together with what the board has approved recently for the neighboring properties. So I hope it's simple because we're mirroring their work exactly. The height of their work, the size of their work that was recently approved. So let me. Right, that's our property is within the Soho cast iron district. On this page. I'm not sure if I missed a page here, but what we're proposing is this GFP sign for the ownership of the building. That is similar to in shape and size to the Manja sign, as well as the North Face sign. That's nearby. It's going to be hanging off of the building and supported. Okay, sorry, with support rods straight centered over the main part of the building. Again, similar to what the other properties have near us. So we gave a overall sidewalk is about 20 feet wide, and we were going out about 13 feet with the pole, which will be almost 27 feet in the above grade. It's full screen. I can't tell how fast I'm changing the pages. The other thing that when we talked to Landmarks was important for them was to see how our signs spaced out amongst the other signs. So there's currently 85 feet between the two existing pole signs, and we're going almost center. It's about 45 feet to one side and 40 feet to the other side in order to not clutter the sidewalk. And this was just an overall look of the facade and the bays that were there. The right side is the other property, and this side from the Wilson and the Athleta is our property, along with the main entrances. So we were going to go centered on the commercial and office portion. My mouse is. That I showed everything we had. I'm not sure what was on the third page and why that turned black when I go to it. But if I change, it's going to go out of full screen mode.
I think we've seen sufficient to understand it if it's not there. Shall we abandon that missing page?
I think it was mostly the same items. There's all different views of what we're looking to do, but
And I think we understand, and certainly with the dimensions that you gave with the sketch, it is clear.
thank you.
That's fine, Chanel. You know, I'm reviewing the application online and there is nothing that we're missing here really that
Okay,
of any importance.
and there are no questions?
I guess I just have one, which I think I know the answer to, but I'm going to ask anyway. Is there any difference in any way, other than obviously color and content, between your sign, your flag, and the other two adjacent ones?
There is no difference. We went over with LPC. They said what they were happy with and what I assume Group Board 2 saw the previous signs before, so we didn't want to rock the boat. The owner was happy with that.
Okay,
Mhm.
very good, thank you. Does anybody in the room have any questions? All right, are there any committee members online who have any questions? All right, I don't see any, so we'll open it up to the public now, where I see that Pete Davies has his hand raised.
Okay, Pete, I'm going to promote you to a panelist. Okay, Pete.
And 3 minutes, please.
There you go.
That
Can you hear
microphone.
me?
We sure can.
Yes.
Great. Two questions. Is there anything about this application specific that is the reason that it's coming before the board rather than being approved at staff level? What is the trigger that pushed it has to go to the public? So that's the first question. Second question is, GFP is the leaseholder of the building rather than a retail tenant, which you usually see these flags for retail tenants. Is this a master plan or is this specifically for the GFP sign?
So the first question about whether this could be approved at staff level, obviously we would prefer staff level and make things easier. We went to LPC. They said the addition of a flag sign could not be approved at staff level and needed to go before the board.
That's for any flag. It's not, there's nothing peculiar about this one.
Correct. Yes, nothing special about this one, just the fact of putting in a flag sign at all. And to your second question, GFP is the owner of the building and the managers of the building. This is not in relation to any grander plan. They just wanted to advertise that this was their building.
Okay, I believe they're actually the long-term 99-year leaseholder, not the owner, but I leave that to you. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, thanks, Pete. Is there anybody else who has a question or wishes to speak? Please, if so, please raise your hand. Okay, there isn't anyone. So thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much. And I think we can move, before we move to Grand Street, let's double check. Has anybody joined the meeting representing 70 Perry Street? If so, kindly raise your hand. No. Okay, in that case, we will move to 138 Grand Street.
And then just found the person and upgrade, please. The application is to install.
Eugene is on it.
I'm promoting Daniel to panelist.
Susan, can I ask you, did you get a clear answer? Is GFP not only the landlord, but also occupying some space in the building?
They're the
One moment, please.
99-year.
You don't have any offices there?
I'll read the application. Install an ADA compliant ramp at the entrance. The address is 138 Grand Street.
And I'm going to need to recuse myself from this discussion for 138 Grand.
Got it. Thanks, Eugene.
Good evening. I'm Daniel Cozen. I'll be presenting the case this evening. This is 134 to 140 Grand Street. This is Grand Street before you, and this is the corner of Crosby. We're specifically looking for a barrier-free access ramp, which will be located at the residential entrance to the building, which is this bay here. I present the designation photo to you specifically to recognize that there is this raised platform in front of the building, and it appears that it was there at the time of designation. It's made of diamond plate, and it's about an 8-inch step that takes you to another 2 steps. So the first floor of the building is 21 inches above the sidewalk level. And we are proposing a switchback ramp similar to the one found at 27 Howard Street. So you will leave the building, come down, turn, and then there'll be a final ramp down to the sidewalk. The difference between us and this ramp, this is a solid ramp. And as I get into the discussion more, that will become relevant. This is the residential entry. It's in this particular bay, and there is a temporary ramp that was put up because there are a few individuals in the building that need something other than steps. Here you can see that 8-inch step up across the entire Grand Street side, and it does return down the Crosby side. This is the area in question, and I'm going to show you the mock-up of the new ramp. This current ramp is not to ADA standards, and we want to take care of that and make it an ADA ramp. So these are the doors to the residential entry. There will be a level landing. There will be a ramp down. There will be a switchback landing, as small and as compact to the ADA standards as possible. It will return down to the sidewalk. Because the ramp needs to land on a level area, we're going to need to add a small piece of diamond plate at this section where the ramp meets the granite sidewalk. And because the granite sidewalk is a landmarks element, our posts, which you'll see in the drawing in a minute, will land on the sidewalk as just a single 1-by-1 post, so that the granite will remain visible underneath the ramp. Here again in drawing is the concept of coming out to the upper landing level with the lobby. This will be a ramp down, landing, and a final ramp down to sidewalk level. This is that additional piece of diamond plate that will extend over the granite just to comply with a level landing situation. This will also provide ADA access to this gallery space, which is open to the public. There will be a sign that says anybody who needs can ring the bell, they'll come up, they'll be let into the building, and there is this sliding panel to provide access to the gallery. So it is for the residents of the building in addition to the public access to the gallery. These are the steps leading into the building currently. There's a +8, a +6, then you're on the diamond plate, which is a +7, and then down to the sidewalk. The reason I mention that is that this ramp is as close as it can be to this pier in the building. There's about 2 inches between these two just to enable the installation. This upper ramp does actually sit on this step, but we will require an additional 11 inches onto the sidewalk in addition to the current diamond plate. So that's one issue. The elevation, these are the posts that will act as supports. And as I said, those will just be the minimal contact with the diamond, with the granite sidewalk. The ramp is made out of an angle which provides the required 4-inch curb along the length of the ramp. So that's a 6-inch by 3-inch angle. You'll just be seeing the 6-inch face from the street. It will provide support for the expanded metal mesh that will act as the ramp surface, and that's supported by 1-by-1 tubes underneath it to provide the structural support. The thickness of the grading and the supports is 1.5 inches. We put that inside of our steel angle and we end up with the remaining 4-inch legal curb protection, edge protection for wheels so that they shouldn't fall off the ramp. The posts are 1 by 1. The handrail itself is a 1-inch diameter tube. There's a small detail that there's a dowel connection between the square post and the handrail so that it should appear as light as possible. And the finish for all of this metal will be a galvanized finish. So it will be gray, somewhat like the building, but not require the maintenance of a painted surface. This will be the entrance. A wheelchair will come up, turn on this landing, complete their second run up to the building entrance, and go into the building. The intercom location is over here. This door is already automated, so they'll be granted access. The door automatically opens and they'll be able to enter the lobby of the building. That concludes the presentation. We very much hope for your approval on this ramp.
Okay, just one thing to clear up. Could you go back a few drawings that whatever shows the landing of the ramp and the access to the sidewalk? Okay, is this area that's shown as level with the sidewalk already level, or is it necessary to remove some of the little platform?
None of the diamond plate on at sidewalk level comes out. We will just be adding that one piece here.
That already exists then,
Right.
the flatness to the sidewalk.
Yes.
Right.
This diamond plate will be cut back and folded down underneath the ramp because we'll have a point of contact at the lower end of the ramp.
Understand. Okay. Thank you. Any questions from the committee now? Susan?
Brian has a question. Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you, Daniel. Can you tell me what the remaining clear path is on the granite landmark sidewalk?
Yes. So there is a parking meter ticket dispenser located here. So there's 5'7" to the parking meter, and there's an additional about 20 inches between the parking meter and the curb. So 5'7" should provide adequate passage for 2 people passing.
So the total is 5'7" plus 1'8", 1 foot, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And it's currently 6'7", as you can see.
And you are representing the architect?
I am the architect for the co-op.
Okay. So I'm sure you checked that 1-inch diameter handrail is sufficient for ADA access?
Yes, 1-inch diameter handrail is technically 1.25 inches because they measured the inside diameter of the tube, but it does comply with the ADA handrail.
Well, that's good. You confirmed what I suspected. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody else in the room have a question? All right, are there any community board members online with a question? Are there any members of the public attending the meeting who wish to speak or who have a question? Please, if so, please raise your hand. All right, no hands are raised, so that's it for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for hearing us this evening.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next presentation is I'll ask one more time if 70 Perry Street is here. If so, please raise your hand. All right, so in that case, we'll move to 727 Greenwich Street.
The application is to level the floors from the front to the rear and relocate window openings in the rear of the building to accommodate the new floor levels.
Hi, I'm Carrie Rothfeld. I am a project architect at Fairfax and Salmons. We're here to present the design for our proposed renovation at 727 Greenwich Street. Let me share the screen with you. Okay. Can you see all of that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's see.
Let's raise their hand.
Okay. The proposed scope of work for this project consists of, at the primary facade facing Greenwich Street, we are replacing the windows, and this is under staff review at the LPC. So these are to replace the windows to match the historic conditions that we found in the historic tax lot photos. So we won't be referencing that work tonight. The interior of the work and the rear facade work is what we'll be talking about here tonight. At the rear of the building, the floors at the rear of the building are proposed to be raised so that they match the front of the building, because currently they are not level. And in doing so, we want to stabilize the floor structure, and that will force us to relocate the windows at the east and south elevations in order to coordinate with the new floor and ceiling heights. On the rear facade from the outside, again, we'll see the relocated windows to align with the new floor levels, and repointing and stuccoing the building because of moisture penetration and deteriorating brick. So, as you know, our site is within the Greenwich Village Historic District. You can see here, we are at the west side of the district along Greenwich Street. Zoomed in, we're at the corner of Perry Street, and this is our site. This aerial view shows how our building, this is 727 Greenwich, faces an interior courtyard. This dashed line represents an interior courtyard, and the buildings surrounding it are all part of the co-op that this building belongs to. This diagram shows the dark shaded buildings, and the building adjacent to it, 729, are the Greenwich and Perry Housing Street Corporation. 727 was built in two phases. The front of the building was built in the early 1830s, and then this rear part of the building that juts into the garden was built later in the 1920s, and this is where the work is going to be occurring that we're talking about. So here we see the tax lot photo from 1940 and the current condition, a current photo of what our building looks like facing Greenwich Street. And these are the photos showing from the courtyard what our building looks like. So on the left side.
Just one moment, please. Could you enlarge the picture so that the part that's the picture covers the screen? We're just getting a lot of unnecessary border.
Is that better?
No, yes, please. That's
Yeah.
good.
Okay, great. On the left side is the north elevation. So as you pass through this passageway tunnel from Greenwich Street into the courtyard, this is the north elevation here on the left. And then as you enter the garden, the courtyard, you look back at our building. This is the east elevation. And then on the right side here, you see the south elevation, which is what's facing this yellow building. All of these elevations are considered non-visible facades. They're the rear facades of the building. Here we see again a photo of the rear of the building, looking at it from the garden, and then the view towards the garden from our building. We see this as an opportunity to enhance the view of our building and bring it more in line with and consistent with the neighboring buildings. This elevation shows work that has been recently completed of those neighboring buildings. This is when you're within the courtyard looking north at the adjacent buildings. This demonstrates the stucco work that was recently approved and some roof work and guardrails that were recently approved. And our work is going to be in line with the color palette and materials that were done on these buildings. Here you see, just to give you a sense of what that courtyard feels like and some of the details in that garden. It's a really special and unique place, really private, like a private oasis. So here's some steps and some handrails and some ironwork details and stucco details from around the site. Now we get to the current state of the building. This is the interior of the rear building. So from within the 727 rear portion of the building, you can see this pretty dramatic change in floor level. When they added on that rear portion of the building, the floors were not built to the same level as the floors at the front of the building, resulting in this sort of hazardous condition at the second and third floors, and these very small floor plates that you have to traverse these stairs in order to move between. Also, the condition of the joists and the brick has been found to be deteriorating and needs attention. This is from the roof. This on the left, you see the bulkhead of the stairs up to the roof level, and the very left corner of this photo is that lower portion of the 727 rear building roof. So when we looked to the neighborhood and the area and existing precedents to help us find inspiration. And in the area, we find bay windows such as this and at 71 Washington Place. This bay window was constructed and added onto this building in 1916. And this bay window at 73 Perry Street was added onto this building in 1936. In addition, just down the street at Greenwich Mews, this is a building, this is a group of buildings that was built in 1989. These also face an interior courtyard similar to ours. So our scope of work is, as I said, to bring the floors level. So the drawing on the left shows that pretty dramatic floor level change from front to rear on the second and third floors, and how we want to reconstruct those floors at the same height as the floors in the front of the building. And this will bring the roof level up, of course, and change the heights and locations of the windows accordingly. So here we have the existing and proposed north elevation. What's important here is that we worked very hard to design the envelope of this building so that it would not be changing the height of this parapet that faces the courtyard. And we are only going to utilize the volume of the space within filling this parapet and pushing the roof up so that it does not go up above where this parapet is currently sitting. Here is the existing and proposed elevation facing the courtyard on the face. So this is the east elevation. So you can see those three windows will be replaced by this centrally located arrangement. All of these window types are similar to the historic windows that are found throughout the co-op. And then on the south, we're keeping the very similar arrangement of windows and sizes as well, relocating the door and using that as access to one of the units, but keeping the arrangement and as close as possible. So here is our rendering of the work, showing the consistency to the other buildings in material and color palette. Also important to note here is that the guardrail that's required by code at the roof is being pushed back approximately 4 feet from the east side of the building, so that it won't be visible from the far end of the courtyard. And here we have the existing conditions and the proposed conditions. So we are, we really see this as an opportunity to enhance the experience of this very unique garden space, where many residents enter and use this garden on a daily basis to access their apartments. And this is just a really special place to make even more beautiful. So we hope that you approve our design.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Carrie.
One thing, please, could you go back to or could you show us on this where this interpolated door is?
Oh, that's on the south side, so it's tucked into this alcove.
Can you go to it?
Yeah, so here on the
Well,
south
I
side.
see it's that open along the side. Okay.
Yeah. Did I answer the question that you were asking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. I have a question, Carrie, and that is the bay window materials.
Mm-hmm. We're
What are they?
proposing this out of wood, some panelized wood with the same painted wood windows with the green finish that we have all around.
Okay, that was the only question I had.
Okay,
Does
and
anybody-
if in case anybody else wants to know, also this is a lead coated copper standing seam roof at the bay.
As we see all over the village. Yes. Okay, good. Thank you. Anybody else in the room have a question?
I don't have a question, but I should say that's my project. I'll just say that. So.
That's your project, is it? You're the architect?
I'm not the architect. I mean, I'm the owner of the apartments in those buildings. And I'm on the building restoration committee. And we've been trying to rescue these buildings, which have been deteriorating to the point where we were afraid they were going to be condemned. And so I formed the building restoration committee. We've been working on rescuing. There's 10 buildings altogether. And we've been working on rescuing them for the last 13, 14 years.
Okay.
And so we are here now at this stage.
I see.
That building is the worst building, the little extension that was loaned on to the original 1839 building. It's falling apart. It's getting rocky. Some people think it's kind of dangerous, so we want to address it.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask you to sign our public sign-in sheet, which
I
is
signed
where?
this one.
Oh, there it is.
I
Okay,
I registered as well, online.
Okay, very good.
So I
Thank
don't
you.
know if I can say anything or not. I just want to give you some context.
All right, very good. Thank you. Thanks.
Susan, I couldn't hear that. Would you just note anything significant that was said?
Yeah. Is there anybody else, any member of the public who wishes to speak? Anthony Bishotto.
So Anthony, I'm promoting you to panelist. So when you rejoin, you can ask your question.
Hi there. You guys hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to present the support that this project has. I sit as a member of the board at the Greenwich and Perry Co-op, for which this project will be taking place. So I'm just going to read a letter that I've put together, that the board and I have put together, and then I have 8 8 other shareholders in this co-op that have also expressed their support for the project. let me know if this is not the right time to go over these letters. This is my first CB2 meeting, so I just want to make sure I'm not
Sir,
speaking out of turn.
is the sum of it that it's in support of the work?
Yes, mine's really
Okay,
quick though. I can read
you
the
can
first
send
one.
it to us in writing and we'll put it into the record and consider it. Perhaps you'd like to sum it up.
Yeah, Anthony, if
Or
your
if it's not
letter
lengthy,
is,
just read it.
sorry to talk over you, Chanel. Anthony, if you have a short letter that you've written that you'd like to read, please go ahead and do so. Do you have 7 other people or 8 other people, sorry, who are signing on to your letter, or do you have 8 additional letters?
I have my letter and then 8 additional letters.
Okay, and are the 8 additional ones also in support?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So if you could read yours and then
Okay.
just submit in writing the 9, that would be great.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
All right. So, dear Mr. Spence and Miss Gammy, I'm Anthony Luciato, a member of the Board of Directors and also of the Building Restoration Committee at the Greenwich and Perry Housing Street Corporation. Sorry. This letter is regarding the proposed project at 727 Greenwich Street, number 4, on the CB2 Landmarks 1 meeting agenda this evening. These plans have been reviewed and discussed at length by our co-op board. Fairfax and Salmon's architects, quote, knowledgeable historians, gave a comprehensive presentation to the board back in March of this year. They listened to our comments and answered all of our questions. Members of the board are in agreement that this project is aesthetically pleasing and enhances the property value. In addition, the restored little building extension will finally gain much needed structural integrity. Properly joined with its counterpart in the street-facing original row house, the two will function as one cohesive family dwelling. We feel that the proposed design is in harmony with the existing 10 little 19th century row houses that comprise our co-op and with village architecture and culture. The board, I'm speaking on behalf of the board asks for your support of this project. Signed, Anthony Luciato, myself, and the rest of the board of directors, being Donald Stewart, president, Joseph Tripodi, treasurer, John Ray, secretary, Kelly Huang, Kyle Skirlove, and Rigoberto Vindiola. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And yeah, please remember to submit all of that in writing to us.
Perfect, will do. What's the best way to submit that?
Chanel, where
I want to ask a question of the applicant or of this gentleman, whoever can answer. Is this work being undertaken by the cooperators of the building itself? Is that why the board is supporting something that I understood was coming from the board? I just want to write it correctly.
Yes, from a shareholder that is also in the co-op.
Okay, I'll sort that out then. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And what's the best method to submit this to you? The rest of the letters?
Our committee member, Valerie De La Rosa, is putting it in the chat even as we speak.
Oh, awesome. All right.
Okay.
Thanks so much, everyone. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. All right, I see that Ann Mitchell-Tree has her hand raised, so.
And I am promoting you to a panelist, so you should be able to speak when you rejoin the webinar.
Audio is on. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Ann.
I can hear you.
Okay, all right. I think it's page 21. Can we go back? The thing is, you work so hard on the entire project, and it's obviously so much to do. It's now sometimes the details get lost. That's page 23.
Let's see. You're talking about, wait, it's going from 22 to 19.
Keep going, go up to 21. You can
I don't know, my screen is saying 17. So,
Keep going.
Characterize
So
the
we're going
Carrie, it's the
18, here we
one,
go.
I know
19,
what picture it is.
And
Carrie,
skip
it's the
and
one
20.
showing J13 and J15. That's the one.
20,
That's page
next
21.
one.
is it one more? Okay, this one.
That's it.
Gotcha.
Is that 21? Yeah.
My screen's saying 23 for some reason. I don't know why, but
Oh.
it's
All right, close enough. So I just, on the left, I see two buildings. One has a figure of a person at the bottom and one has a figure of a person in the middle, right?
correct.
The one on the left, that is what? That is the way it is now?
Correct. That's the existing condition of the building. So on the left, on the far left of the left drawing, what
Yeah.
you're seeing is the addition. So this part here was added onto the building in the 1920s. And you can see when they added it, they didn't take time, or they didn't think it was important to build the floors at the same height as the existing building of that time. So there are these very awkward steps that connect the two, the front to
And
the
someone
rear.
could fall on those stairs. They fall more than you know. Kids, babies can fall, grandparents can fall. Steps are not so great. But when I look at that area that you just showed me, I see that I think you would call 3 by 3 by 3 by 3 windows. I see the windows centered exactly. And then you go down and you have a door exactly. And it looks like it's perfectly centered that way, that part, right? And we move over to the one on the right. Yeah. Now we've flattened out the floors, so that's great. But the windows to me don't look as charming. They don't look equidistant. They don't look.
Yeah. Sorry
The
to
door's not
interrupt.
in the middle. So something happened there.
Yes, we, this is based on the reuse of the plan, and these are dictated by how the apartments will be used. So the locations of the windows and the door are staying the same. This door is actually replacing a window. So it's in the place of this window that you see here where my cursor is. And we're removing the door from the center so that it can, locating the door here actually gives us the ability to use this as an access to an apartment. And we have the ability actually to make this ADA accessible as well, by bringing a ramp up if we need to, and making a vestibule into the apartment here.
All right, now going up to that being the first floor, the second floor, the third floor above yeah. Now, why can't those windows be identical, matching, equidistant? Why are they so different?
The way that the spaces are being used, this will be a bathroom. So there's some function that's dictating the sizes of the windows in this case, so that we can use them above counters, above, in a bathroom and above a counter in a kitchen as well. So that's why they get smaller, but we kept what we
They
did
don't
was
really
here,
match.
we took
We can make them bigger. I'd like to
Can
make
you
them
match?
bigger,
It looks
actually.
like the one in the middle where the figure is you could
please,
match.
the purpose of this is to ask questions and have them answered, not to enter into a discussion about it. So
I apologize, Mr.
you can
Spence.
sort of limit the.
No, well, I think you see
I
my
don't
point.
think they can hear you.
You gotta speak up
Into the microphone.
They don't look as,
talking to me.
No, I think talking to.
the windows on the left were perfectly placed, matching, geometrically perfect. The ones that your new windows don't match and they're not geometrically perfect. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Anne. Is there anything else that you have to say?
No, it just caught me right away. Thank
All
you.
right, great, thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? Well, unless, if you have something pertinent.
The reason about those windows, I understand exactly what Ann is saying. You can't see, you can't see from that side. There's another building that's right up, so you don't know, but you can't really see the windows. I agree, I think they should be bigger, frankly, and I told my architects that, but you can't see them.
No, I understand. Yeah, thank you. Okay, if anybody has a question, this is last chance. All right, Anthony,
Anthony.
please
you
go
should be
ahead,
able to allow to
Anthony.
speak.
Yes, thank you. What was that email address again? Sorry, I lost it.
I probably switch. Let me switch back to the panels. Thanks.
It's info@manhattancb2.org.
Yeah, do you just want to hit enter?
Oh, yeah.
And we're putting it in the chat again.
Teamwork.
Perfect. All right.
There you
cool.
go. Okay.
Thanks very much.
We look forward to reading your letters. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to move on now to 48 Barrow Street.
We've given up on the first one.
Last chance for Perry Street.
We should do it first if so, because the.
Yeah,
last
whose
one-
hand is raised?
That's Anthony's again.
Oh,
so
okay.
I just took it down. Do you want to get?
Okay, so
Mary
48
Lou,
Barrow
or-
Street. Mary Lou Malinowski.
I will promote her.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess 70 Perry's a no-show. All right, Mary Lou, when you rejoin, you should be able to share share your application, your presentation. I think you are still muted, Mary. So Mary or Mary Lou, we cannot hear you.
There we go.
Now we
can hear you.
Okay. So
Sorry, I need
Can
to
you
read it before we go on.
oh,
The
sorry.
application is to reconstruct and reconfigure the back facade with larger windows, including a ribbon window on the top floor, excavate the rear yard to add a foundation and to install steel structural support. Okay, when you're
Yes.
ready.
Okay. So do you see my screen full screen? Is that
Yes, thank you.
okay? Thank you for hearing my request. I'm the owner of 48 Barrow Street. We've lived in the house for almost 30 years. And have been trying to restore it over the time that we've lived in it. So we are proposing to do construction to remove and reconfigure and reconstruct the rear wall, which is the north wall. It needs a foundation at the level of the extension. We're going to reconfigure the windows, and then we've discovered through the course of this, originally started with trying to replace the windows, some structural problems with our house. So we're located in the Greenwich Village Historic District. This is us right here. We are right next to the music school. Our houses, there are 6 houses that were built at the same time. Our house 48 is the last one on that row. They were built in 1851, 52. They were all constructed together. When I bought the house, we had an architectural historian do a history of the house so we could learn about it. And so this is the information that she told us in terms of the history. It's Greek Revival / early Italianate. And all of the houses were built, the 6 houses were built. They were built by a group of men who purchased the lots. And as you can see, I made this isn't interesting to everyone. It's a mason and a builder and a carpenter. I just thought it was so interesting, so I included it. Anyway, you can read it if you like. So they were all built as a double parlor house. And then there was an extension that was built on the back. It was really interesting for me to listen to the last presentation where there was also an extension built on the back in the 20s, because that is what happened with my house. So right here is my house. And I don't know if you can tell from this, this is a a Google Earth photo, but there's a small 7-foot extension where, oops, sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Go back. Okay. Where we are slightly larger than the 5 other houses that were built together. And this extension is what's caused a number of the structural issues with our building. During the 20s, Frank Hutchins, who was a portrait artist and landscape painter, moved into the house, bought the house and moved in and used it as a studio. And the historian said that it was likely that this is the time that the addition was added to the 3rd floor to increase the light that would come in. And they extended the house by 7 feet and raised the roof line. The roofs for the other 5 houses are all flat roofs. Ours is a pitched roof. It goes from the top of the building down to the front. And so there's a 12-foot ceiling in the back room of our house. It gets beautiful light. But the problem with, I think it must have been a problem with construction in the 20s. There's some things that are unique to our house. Our house doesn't have a party wall that extends the full length, and party wall provides support. So at that end of the house on the west side, we don't have structural support. And then in addition, when they added that, the brick itself is only 1 width thick. So it is actually starting to gape from the original house. And then there's no foundation that was built under the extensions. The brick wall was built at the end of the parlor, which I think I mentioned. So that there's a 2-floor extension. We call, it's ground parlor 1st and 2nd is how I think of it. And the ground floor and parlor floor have the extension, but that extension does not have a foundation underneath it. So the weight of the building in the 20s when they added, I guess over time, it's affected the west side, the west corner of the house. And we originally found this when we looked at replacing the windows. We were told that the wall was bowing and we needed to get that fixed before we replaced the windows. So we did fix the bowing issue on the west side. We tied it into the joists. But when we did that, the engineer who was working on it looked at the structural steel that's holding up the 3rd floor, and then also looked at the ceiling of what is the parlor floor, which does not have steel in it. It's just the original wood. And that is not even the thickness of the joists are much less than in the rest of the house. It wasn't designed to hold any additional weight, is basically what the engineer said. So this is a picture of what the house looks like from the rear. Sorry, I'm too quick with my mouse. So on the 3rd floor, you can see there's that very large window. And then on the left side, there is, I don't know if that's an original window or not, but it's a very small window. These windows are quite old, and actually, because we've been trying to replace them, we have not done enough maintenance on them. They're actually in quite bad shape. On the 2nd floor, it looks like it's brick, but it's not. It's just fascia. It's actually a 2x4 wall. It was a sunroom when we bought the house. It's now part of a bedroom, but there's this mishmash of different kinds of brick from the 3rd floor to the 2nd floor, because that's not real brick. And the 3rd floor is a different brick than the original brick because it was built 70 years later. And then down at the ground level, when we bought the house, there was a restaurant in the ground floor level. It was a Greek restaurant. It's actually quite good. Unfortunately, after 9/11, there was a fire in the restaurant, and the restaurant shut down. They had used the backyard as it was roofed over. I don't think it was a legal roof over, but we cleaned all that up and removed some of the structures that they had for storage, and discovered that the brick is in very bad shape. This is the original brick that's on the ground floor level. And then this is kind of a messy picture, but this is the parlor floor level and some detail on where the fire was, and how it damaged the brick, and then also just deteriorating because they had roofed over and there were leaks, and until we took that off, we didn't realize all of that. Oh, so it's just another picture of the different brick. So what we have to do is I'm going to show you this picture, and hopefully my mouse doesn't change when I do this. I did. I'm sorry. I don't know how to undo that. Let's try again. If anyone can help me here. So we have to add steel. There is a steel beam here, across here. We have to add steel here to support, and we're adding steel inside the building. We're adding it all where there are wood joists. We're adding steel joists at the parlor ceiling level to support the extension that's above. And then we are adding a foundation down here to support the brick wall that is going to be for the extension when it's rebuilt. We are trying to add more light into the building. It faces north, so we don't get any direct light at all. We get northern light, which is beautiful, but we would like to increase the size of the windows. And then on the third floor, we were trying to keep to the historic aspect of it being an artist studio. We actually talked to Landmarks about this. They suggested that we put in a window similar to the window that was put in at 42 Barrow Street, which is a ribbon window. They actually have a ribbon window and then a portion above that makes the roof. We cannot do that because of the lack of the shared wall on the other side. So we just have the ribbon window. And this is the comparison of what the house looks like now and what we hope it will look like. And we're putting in—
May I ask you one question while you're on these pictures, please?
Sure.
Is this a reworking of the existing extension, or is it are you demolishing the old extension and building this one newly?
I'm just rebuilding the rear wall. The extension, so on this part right here, if you see, this is the music school, which is next to us, has the same extension. I'm not changing that. I am adding steel beams on the interior where
Right, it's just a question of, there's only a question whether you were tearing it down and replacing it, but that's not the question.
No, I'm not
Reworking
replacing it.
That's fine.
Okay, I'm
you go on where
just
you
replacing the rear wall. Okay. And then, oh, sorry, I was going to go to what windows we're using. We're using Marvin windows. We're using two different lines of Marvin windows. The modern line, which can be molded together to make the ribbon window. And then we're using the ultimate line, which has wood interior. The modern line does not, it's only aluminum. And then we're hoping to keep, we have some of the original woodwork from the house. And so we want to keep the interior. We want to use the molding that we have to frame the window on the parlor floor so that it has that sense of the history of the house still present in it. It's gorgeous molding. I should have put a picture in. I'm sorry I didn't. And that's what we'd like to do.
Would you just go back, please, to that comparison of the one when I asked you the question before?
Yes.
I think it's clear from the picture. The floor, the third floor, if you will, the floor below
Yes.
the artist window. That is the original wall again, renewed, but not replaced.
Yes. It's renewed. Yes, that's a good word for it. It's renewed. That is.
Then the windows are reconfigured throughout. Oh, okay, I understand.
Yes.
Thank you.
Chanel, I'm just going to jump in here now just to get some clarification on this. It sounds like you're replacing, not renewing, the rear wall there. Can you clarify that for us, please?
So when I use the word renew, I guess I was thinking that I'm to the extent I can, I'm using the same brick. There is not very much brick that I can use. I am deconstructing it completely and rebuilding it, but it is so I'm not sure what the right word is. It's in the same space as
rebuilding is exactly the word, so that's clear.
Okay.
Now.
So rebuilding, yeah. And
Yes,
my other question is regarding the brick that we are concerned with removal of historic fabric when we're talking about, beautiful houses like this in landmark districts. And so I'm trying to get a sense of the masonry part of the rebuilt wall here. It sounds like you're not going to be able to reuse much of that brick. Is that true?
That is true. We are trying to find used brick, and the contractor has contacted some people about that. He also is looking for brick that is similar if we can't find enough used brick.
Okay, so you're looking for used or similar. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Thanks. And I have to say that one thing that really jumps out for me looking at this with its wonderful sibling houses, is how unabashedly contemporary your rear facade windows are on all 4 floors. Even what you're calling the ribbon window there doesn't really look so much like a classic, Greenwich Village atelier window. And I'm just wondering why you chose not to incorporate or reference any of the characteristics of rear facades in your row there, and went so, starkly modern, with your windows, both in configuration and in materials.
So we have a half house next to us. You can't see it very well, but it's this corner of the building here. So although we're in a donut, we don't get very much light. There are trees in the music school yard next to us. Sorry, I don't have a picture of the music school. But this tree is here. We have trees on either the catty corner house and the house directly behind us. So our yard actually gets very little sunlight, direct sunlight. And so it's fairly dark. And I'm a person of the light. And so I wanted to maximize having light in the house, which is why I ended up going modern. I tried to keep the symmetry aspect of what the house was like. But the upper 2 floors that were the extension don't match anything. And I would love to have had a steel window. That's actually what I first started with. But I cannot afford a steel window. And this was what I could come up with in speaking with Landmarks that was closer to that. And then I was trying to match, or not match is not the right word, but have something that blended, that would be a better word. With that transition, well, trying to get as much light as possible. And you're right, it is in the end very modern. And I guess what I felt was on the interior of the house, you would see the melding of the history of the house with what is something that's designed to have more light. Obviously, you don't see that from the exterior.
Yeah, but I mean, just, from the exterior, I'm not seeing any history. All right, but thank you for your answer. I understand. Brian, you look like you might have a question.
Yes, thank you, Mary Lou. And I was wondering who your architect is.
My architect is Ariana, well, the firm is Ariana Braun. My architect actually passed away.
Sorry.
So his partner has taken over the job, but Bob was the person who I first worked with on this, who had a townhouse in Brooklyn, and he's the person who I exchanged a lot of ideas with. Toby, who is taking it over, has picked up on that, but he is actually in Connecticut. He's done all of the drawings since Bob passed away, but I don't think he has the same love of brownstones that Bob had.
Well, nevertheless, I also, just to clarify, you're using the term ribbon window, which to me would look like something that I don't see in any of the images. But I take it to be that large top floor window is what you're referring to as a ribbon window?
Yes, that's what Toby called it. So that's what I called it.
Okay.
If that's not correct, let me know.
I'll just say that I use the term studio window. And I'm looking at your Google Earth photo of the backyards, and I see that looks like 54 or 56 Greenwich has the studio windows at the top floors. As you say, it pops up into the roof that you said you could not duplicate, but it certainly shows.
This one right here?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's much larger than what you're proposing for your house, even though the width of that house that it's on over there looks about the same width. So
I think, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
I would have to conclude that is a precedent for what you're proposing. And so that's why I don't find it objectionable. However, on your, I'll say, second floor, you have a similarly large window that instead of
go back to the drawing as he speaks, please, the rendering.
Back to the rendering. Okay.
And yeah, any of the renderings that show the black. There you have a configure, instead of using the vertical elements of the windows that you have on the top floor.
Yes.
You have changed the configuration to be horizontal bars. And that I find to be out of keeping with the rest of the architecture.
So I have this horizontal bar here, and this is a horizontal bar that's supposed to match it. And then this vertical is here. But are you saying it would look better if there was a vertical in this window?
Go down one floor.
Go down here to the,
Yes.
oh, to the parlor
There,
floor.
we're missing the verticals, and the horizontals are emphasized thereby. And that does not look right to me.
Yeah, well, you're right. That is different, and that is because the design was to maximize the window space, the window light coming in. Are you suggesting that you think I should add vertical? Oh, I touch this and it moves. I'm sorry.
Speak a little more generally and not try to redesign it on the spot.
Well, I'm suggesting you might talk to your architect about options, because they don't match, and I find that objectionable, whereas otherwise I don't have an objection.
Okay.
Thanks, Brian. Anything else? No? Okay.
When everyone on the
Valerie or Eugene, do you have anything?
I do not.
Valerie?
I agree that it's modern.
Yeah. Okay, Chenault, did you have any other
Yes,
questions?
I have several things.
Okay,
all
great.
about the same. Working from the bottom up. It may be necessary to give up a few square feet of window in order to come up with something that is more reflective of the history of the building and of the architecture of the original. Several things. On the ground floor, it looks a little awfully commercial. We frequently have this much window, but somehow the bulkheads don't ring true with the door in the middle. And perhaps if they were full length, it would be more in keeping with what we see normally and would give more the feeling of a residential situation. Above that, the way that the ground floor and the parlor floor are reading is a double height window, which is not intended and certainly not in the keeping with the building. If between them were brick, it would define the two and not intrude at all on the windows. And would just give that demarcation that's original to the building between them. Similar, the parlor floor is probably, given everything that exists, not objectionable. On the floor above that, the second floor, the floor below the top floor, we've lost the if we look on the left, I understand these are not original to the building, but it's the traditional three-part windows that we see on the upper level of the extension. That is the absolute typical what we saw in the back of a building anywhere. And there's nothing that references that. And this is the opportunity. Again, it may lose a little to have three equal spaces there, but that might be worth giving up in order to keep that reference to the historical part of the building. And the top floor found a little larger, perhaps not terribly objectionable. I understand the need to maximize the light. Is typical of these buildings that were not built with that in mind and was not the intention. So it's always a kind of tension between what to do now and what the historic condition was.
Yes, I understand. Can you just go over with me one more time what you're suggesting? Because I'm not sure I understand
I'm
where
suggesting that,
the
okay,
brick.
the solution, is the bottom floor that,
Yes.
eliminate the bulkhead. So that the windows are the same height as the door. So
Oh, have
it's
full
more
length
like the parlor
windows.
floor, actually.
Oh,
Is that
on the part.
that
Sorry,
the ground floor, the basement level,
oh,
that it's,
so
that it's just go all the way to the
this
ground. Yeah,
this is the
yeah,
ground
the
floor,
brick thing. Just eliminate
and
that.
you eliminate the brick.
Yeah, and then a course of brick along to separate the two floors. That's the real thing that jars about the back,
Oh,
because it
I
doesn't
see.
look
So
like two.
and then have, I don't know where my mouse went. Then
Three,
have brick here,
not on the next, on the, yeah, brick there, and then whatever
there,
top, 3 equal spaces would
and then
reflect the
here you're
star.
saying 3 equal.
Yeah,
This is actually a door. That's why it's not
I know,
equal.
but that's, it's not uncommon to make a window into a door in these situations, because it's typical to have a balcony on the extension.
Okay,
It's just that it looks too reconfigured.
okay.
Are there any others, Susan?
I have a question in terms of that terrace that's there, off of the, above
Parlor
the,
floor?
above the parlor floor. How is
Yes.
how is that differing from the one that's currently there? Is it a different material? What is this?
There is nothing there now. There was a roof over this area. So we're adding this, it's a walkway with stairs to go to the yard from the parlor floor. It's
So you're
just going
adding a
to be,
walkway. What is the walkway made from?
it is steel grating.
And what is your reference point on that as a material in a rear house of this sort?
I don't have one.
Okay.
Landmarks didn't object to that. I didn't know that that was an
And-
issue. I'm sorry.
And above that, there's a terrace, yes?
Yes,
And there was just the roof. What exists is just a roof now, and you're proposing to turn that into a terrace, yes?
no, there is a terrace there now.
Oh, I thought you just said there, okay, I understand now. Okay, so how is the terrace different now from what exists? I mean, how is the proposed terrace different from what currently exists?
This terrace on this, what I call the second floor, I'm sorry, I get confused by my own terminology. So this brick would be just removed, and you would just have a cable railing.
So it's even less masonry, okay. And what is the decking material on that terrace?
It is a black, I'm not actually sure what it is. It's the photos that I've seen are just a black surface that is applied on top of the roofing.
Okay, what you've rendered is light. I'm confused.
Yeah, I don't know. The architect did that, but when I looked at the building, the contractor's detail, it didn't say that it was putting in pavers that were light, but originally when I talked to the architect, I talked about pavers, so maybe he put them in that way. So it may just be that the builder didn't add that in, and I should ask him about it.
Okay, so we don't know. The answer is we don't know what that surface is.
We don't know.
Okay, thank you. And it looks like Brian and Eugene, let's let Eugene go because he hasn't asked anything yet. And then Brian.
Thanks. So I have one question also regarding that level, the one above the parlor level, what you're calling the terrace. In the existing structure, is the door, is that far left? Is the door on the far left? And is the proposed, are you
In the
moving it
existing
towards the middle?
structure, there's a 3-panel window and the door is here.
In the middle?
And it's in the middle of the 3-panel window. If
Okay.
you imagine that this whole area is what is close to what is there now,
Yes.
it's this center panel, but there is a bathroom here. And so I was actually trying to have what did I do? Have symmetry. And that's why I asked them to switch it to be 2 windows and a door in the center.
Okay, because it just seems like the existing one is not symmetrical, and now we're.
The existing one is not symmetrical. It's the rest of the houses in the row that have the back windows that are all symmetrical.
Okay. All right, thank you.
There's nothing original about that in the older part.
All right,
No,
Brian.
All right, so just one comment, Mary Lou, and that is that the city does require that roofs be light colored. And so there are ways to simply apply a light colored coating to what's otherwise a dark roofing material if it's tough enough if it's actually made to be tough enough for walking surface. But that's one way of handling it if it's not pavers, as you mentioned. But there are other ways of producing a light colored roof, and it is mandated.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, does anybody from the committee have any other questions?
No.
All right. Is there anybody from the public who'd like to speak?
I'd like to speak.
Okay, we've got Ann Mitchell-Tree's hand first, and then, yeah. Okay, Ann, please go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Unmute. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so we're on page 15. I'm sorry, I'm going to echo what some other people have said, but just in a gross way, it screams modernity. But what I'm looking at is this, what I call a widow's walk. You're on your balcony there below the top. Do you see that grill on the left, on the existing? It's a
Here?
railing. Go up.
Here.
Where are you?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. I'm calling that, for lack of a better word, a widow's walk. And I'm looking at that grill, what do you call it? A railing? And
railing,
you see how
yes.
thin, narrow the pieces are between the bars.
Yes.
You could put that railing on your, whatever that floor is, the same widow's walk that you have on the right side. Let me explain something about this here. Do you see what I'm talking about?
Yes.
People, and unfortunately, I've seen them do it. They will sit down on the floor, dangle their legs out over the side, sitting because the rail pieces are too wide and there's space there for things to fall through. Then they will go over here on my left side and they will climb over this little wall and they'll be over to the neighbor's house in about 5 seconds. And I just feel that this particular upper balcony isn't secure. It's dangerous. And you could use that grill. It's a perfectly fine wrought iron, black as coal grill railing. And you could use that instead of what you have. You could use the same wrought iron grill on this floor, and you could run it down the stairs. And the only thing I would carry over is the white. I don't see why it has to be so black. Everything that's on the left side is going to 100% completely disappear as if it had never been, and it will be replaced by this. And there's nobody on this planet that would say that's historic. It's not. It's 1960s, at least. That's just. But there are one element you could easily pull over is that narrow grill, narrow railing. And maybe try to use white instead of some type of white instead of black.
Okay,
Okay, thank you, Anne. Thank you, Anne. I would just like to confirm with the applicant, I presume that your glass is all clear glass, although it's rendered in a very smoky way, particularly on the bottom 2 floors. But
no, it's all clear glass.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks. All right, Jessica.
Hi.
Why don't you come here, Jessica, because we have sound problems.
Hi, Mary
otherwise.
Lou. You know, my architects just did my presentation. I really admire you for trying to do this. But I also have to be honest, I'm very passionate about the village and the West Village and the neighborhood and everything staying, consistently historic. When I looked at this, before I came to the meeting, and when I saw it, it immediately struck me, this looks like the building at 767 Greenwich Street, which was very modern. I was trying to pull it up on my iPad. Well, anyway, and every time I walk by that building, it's cool, but it feels so out of place in the neighborhood. And I always have this thought, how did landmarks allow that to happen? This would look very good at the back of that building. But I also walk by your house, and it's a beautiful house. And I just love that block of Barrow with the music school. And I thought, well, thank God they're not going to do this in the front. But the front, when I think of this, when I see this project, the front and the back are completely opposite. Completely opposite. I just echo what everyone else is saying here. It's too modern for what the building is, and it's not in harmony. And I think I get it that you want all the windows. I'm trying to get as many windows as I can get. That's why my architects came up with the little bay window thing. But I think with some tweaking, you could get it to look more historic and still get the effect that you want. And I agree about the terrace. I think it's a great idea, but right now at our buildings, our 10 buildings are all connected, and we have parapets like that, and people jump over them. They jump over them. I've done it, to get to the roof next door, to check. So that is a security issue there. And as far as that building is concerned, I think for my niece would love it. She's, oh, that's so cool. It's so modern. The only thing I think that's jarring is those parapets that come up. But I don't think it's appropriate for what your house is and what is facing Barrow Street. It looks like it's 2 completely different houses. But I admire you for what you're doing, and I hope you can come to something that everybody's happy with and that works for you.
Thank you. Okay, I think that's it, Chenault.
I have a couple of I just want to ask that, sort of leading out of that. Are there any other houses in the donut that have modern backs on them?
The 42, which was redone, has I can't actually see the from Google Earth. I can't see, but I did go to look at the house once. They have a modern back. They have 42 is the same building that has the atelier window, which I've been trying to think of that word forever. Thank you for whoever said it. It is that building. Only what I call the second floor
It's not typical of they're not numerous ones then.
No, their parlor floor is not uniform, not the 3 windows. Their ground floor is not, only their second floor is.
Not just any details about.
The houses that are directly behind me are classic in the 3 windows. The house two over. There actually is an apartment building there, so it's a mix.
That's fine. There's one thing I'd also like to suggest. We seem to have spent a great deal of time tonight because the architect's not here. When you go to the commission, it's very, very important that the architect is there.
Okay, I
We
will ask him to
typically
come
have
in
the
for that.
architect at these, which is able to clarify a lot of technical things that we've asked that you wouldn't naturally know. So just be cautious of that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes, it concludes unless no one appeared, right?
Last chance for
Last
70
chance.
Terry Street. Please raise your hand if you're here. Okay, that concludes this part of the meeting, Chenault.
Okay. Thank you. Everyone's invited to stay, and only the members of the committee will speak. If we could go, the first one, we have a boilerplate for one council and didn't show up. The flagpole and banner. Any comments on that? Broadway. It certainly is one of the best banner presentations we've had, and I especially appreciated the distance between existing flags and this one, because that is often creates just a mess in the street. And it respects what we drill on about the entire streetscape. Grand Street, the ramp.
I need to recuse myself from Grand Street.
No, they put Y.
That's my residence.
That's what I figured, just for the record.
That whole building is going to be done over with your recusal eventually. Greenwich Street. For all that was said, it seemed to be universally accepted. Any comments?
Objections?
No objections? Okay.
No objections. And then interestingly, it became a real compare and contrast with the application that followed, because there are certain similarities in some of the problems that they were solving, and, bringing extra light in and all of that. And, this Greenwich Street proposal clearly demonstrated a way to do that was respectful of the row, the building itself, the row in which it sits, the space or the interior courtyard space, which would roughly translate to the donut on Barrow Street. And I think all of that was solved quite well.
And right off the bat, they said that's what they were after.
Yeah.
And the fact that the co-op, which I would assume has to approve it, was not only approving it, but with seeming enthusiasm, because it was improving what they looked at.
Right, and the materials, the bay windows are wood, the standing seam, the standing seam roof over the bay windows there. I mean, it's all, what we see in this
I'll say
historic.
something about respecting the interior look as well.
Yeah.
Although it didn't. That's in large part why we have no questions.
Yeah.
Can I speak first on this one?
On Barrow Street, sure, go ahead.
The disaster from top to bottom. That's all I'll say now.
Chenault, we can't hear you. Speak a little louder, please.
It's a disaster from top to bottom.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
And I regret having talk about specifics.
Before we get into a conversation about specifics, perhaps we want to discuss whether we want to reject it outright, to recommend denial and ask for that the applicant to return with a proposal that you know, that is more respectful of the building, that isn't so starkly modern. I mean, we see regularly, you know, monthly, we see presentations where the applicant who desires more light and perhaps a more contemporary expression on their rear facade manages to accomplish that and still honor the existing architecture in some way or another, and not just throw the whole thing out the window, but say, you know, say on the ground and parlor levels, we see these kind of more contemporary windows. And then on the top two floors, there's a more conventional tripartite kind of arrangement. I mean, there's many ways this problem can be resolved, and we see this type of resolution regularly. So rather than specifically, it's not our job to redesign this. I think we all have ideas largely around the solid and void, you know, the void to solid aspect, the big glaring dark hole in the bottom of the building, and, you know, all of these things. But I think rather than get into that, I might suggest, depending upon what others think, that we recommend denial and that the applicant return with a revised application.
That's what I was saying, but more succinctly.
So I said it in more words. Okay. It's usually the other way around. All right. How do others feel about that?
I think that would be a reasonable approach. It just struck me as so modern and so out of place. It didn't look anything like any of the other buildings in that donut at all.
Or anywhere.
Or what it used to be.
Yeah. Brian and Valerie, what do you think?
I understand the utility, but it doesn't match with what the mandate is for what the historic district is, which is why we review the rear facade and the integrity of the architectural donuts. There's a disconnect between the utility and the aesthetics. So we're here for the aesthetics. So I agree.
Okay, thank you.
I don't ever remember somebody who's lived in a house and been with it so long coming with this kind of a proposal. It's almost invariably either a new purchaser or a new purchaser who's an investor who wants to turn it over.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think we've ever had such an insensitive thing coming from a person who lived in it.
Yeah, good. That's interesting. Brian.
All right, so I'll start out with some positive comments, and those are that it is definitely a big challenge to find such structural weaknesses and faults in your house that does need really total reconstruction. And that does mean that it will be reconstructed from the ground up in order to provide the proper structural strength. And I also sympathize with the fact that the owner has lost their longtime architect, who she said was a little more sensitive, or a lot more sensitive, to this particular environment. But for me, the exception is that top floor large studio window, which I do find to be very similar. It is in character with a studio type of space, and it is in character with the, I don't know if that's part of the Greenwich House or the few doors down, 54, 56 has a much larger type of studio window in it. So that makes it compatible in that donut. But there are a number of other details that have already been mentioned, although I would definitely add to our list the railings that might be studied for more historic detail without taking away anything from the rest of the light or space or structural aspect of the building. So,
Is all of that the reason we're denying it?
I think that's
if we're just outright denying the application. Well, Susan spoke a bit about the reasoning we give for it.
Deny with a list of objections.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're not, certainly not opposed to the concept of an atelier window, and including Brian's excellent point that we're certainly not opposed to an atelier window at the top, you know.
Oh, I wrote that down, actually.
So everybody's in agreement on that then, yes? Okay. Okay, Chenault, so that's all the applications, but you wanted to talk about the district needs statement.
Yes. I think Brian corrected some typos, and otherwise there were no comments that came to me about submitting the same request. 7th Avenue South is trashier every day.
I know, it's amazing.
You just walk from my house up to 14th Street. It just gets worse and worse and worse. That at the corner of Charles Street, the barber shop that puts out all sorts of things and has a pole is beginning to recede into architectural and historic integrity beside what's coming now. So the problem is more acute than it has ever been.
Well, yeah, and the fact that they're approving more at staff level, that got expanded, particularly around the signage and all that. Now we're seeing the effects in the neighborhood. On Bleecker Street, I'm just going to say this just because it's so irritating, and then sorry to take up everybody's time, but I think this is kind of interesting. On Bleecker Street, in a 19th century house, there's a storefront between Cornelia and Carmine that was painted like Pepto-Bismol pink.
Yes.
Right?
It's like a pop-up, right?
Pepto-Bismol pink. So I wrote I guess I put in a 311 on that, and then it got referred to the commission, and they asked for pictures, and I sent photographs of, somewhere between Barbie and Pepto-Bismol pink storefront. And was told by whoever responded to that email that was okay because it's just a pop-up and it's just for a year.
This is temporary?
Because it's quote unquote temporary, which seems so disturbing to me when you think of all the store owners and businesses who make a commitment to do business in our neighborhood and have to abide by one set of rules, to allow for somebody who's just kind of popping in and out to be able to degrade the very same rules that the the business owners who have leases and have to abide by, seems really unconscionable for two reasons to me. One is that it's an ugly, inappropriate pink, whether it's there for a year or whether it's there for 5 years. And this is the standard, okay, so now it's pink for a year. Maybe next year the pop-up will be lime, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle green. I mean, it's just wrong. And the idea of the double standard of who gets to play by what rules just seems so terribly wrong.
And that will come to us as an example of something the commission approved then.
Right, exactly. Then it's just like a constant degradation, right?
With all this fabulous enforcement, it may stay popped up longer than a year.
Right.
Wait a minute, pop up for a year? I thought that was a month or 2 weeks or
2
something.
months, 2 months at the most or something. A year, that's a long
I'm pretty
pop-up.
sure. I mean, I'll double check it, but it was a very long period of time. I was very surprised.
And you're sure it's not contact paper?
It looked painted. I mean, I'll check it tomorrow.
Our block gets a lot of contact paper ugliness on Bleecker Street.
It looks painted.
Well, so then all the more reason that ours is important.
For 7th Avenue South in general, the Village Alliance, no, not Village Alliance, the West Village bid is doing they've hired Sasaki to do a study of a streetscape improvement for 7th Avenue South, and it goes right up to Dappolito, and I forget how far up it goes. It's what's within their jurisdiction. So that's something they engaged them at the end of June is when they were tabling during Pride there in front of the Village Cigars frontage. So more to come on that, I guess.
And we take such care with every building. Oh, the block that Susan spoke about is one that we inch by inch are improving.
Right.
Okay, that will go in. I think that has to go Tuesday to the. By the way, Brian, I can't be at the Tuesday meeting. Will you be there? Meeting.
Oh, exactly. Yes.
Would
Yes.
you? I don't know what will need to be said about resolutions, but to present this, and the other thing tonight is that we will give the report on the Dappolito to the board, because it hasn't been submitted to them. It just been put on the website. So those two things require a modicum of formality.
Thanks, Sean. Also, I just see that Dina Tass-Winter has written that Village Preservation is also aware of the 7th Avenue South project, and Andrew has been contacted about it. And she says, I don't know more yet, but can keep you all in the loop too. Thanks, Dina. Thanks very much. That'd be great. Thank you.
Oh, Dina, is Dina here? Can you is she still here?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, this just occurs. This is more new business. We got today a notice from Andrew about a rally concerning the Eye and Ear Hospital.
Oh, yeah.
Is it appropriate for us to, as being in a neighboring district and generally concerned, to write a letter of support across lines, as it were?
Oh, yeah. I mean, as far as we're concerned, that would be very welcome. Council member Christopher Marte actually is participating as well, even though it's not technically in his district. So
I noticed he was there. That's what brought the on.
Yeah, I mean, up to you, but we always are so appreciative of your support, and it's neighboring your district. So
would you send me your letter or some?
Yeah. I'll email you, Chenault, that information. Thank you.
Can we agree to have that letter done? How urgent do you think this is?
I mean, there's some momentum right now, so as soon as you're able would be great, but there's no hard deadline or anything.
I'll talk to Susan Chair and see if we can send it before we can't get it done by the board meeting. I'll put to them that we want to do it, and then without the text, and then we can send it along as soon as we get it together.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dina is our fairy godmother, everybody.
I love it.
Any other new business? Next time is a bit more brutal than this. Just because we have
Alright.
complications. The good thing is it's a much improved application for the corner of Bleecker Street and Christopher.
For the new building, yeah. And you saw that one application just got laid over.
11th.
That one did?
No, not that one. Another one got laid over.
Oh, 11th Street, yeah, that was.
Yeah, 11th Street.
We have had just a terrible time getting the applicants together. That's why I said what I said. And I'm going to say it every month. Late getting things in. We have one that has an aggressively visible top on a brownstone, a row house, and it's still not up on the board. It's up on the building, but it hasn't come in through the application, so that there's no opportunity for the public to review it, and indeed for us to review it. I passed the day and took some photographs. Eugene, I'm going to send you the several photographs. So if they need to be brought, as it were, into evidence, if you could have them ready or screen share.
Sure.
And I'll label what it is and so forth.
Okay.
Okay, before we adjourn, one bit of housekeeping. Do public members count towards a quorum or no?
No.
Okay, so then we do have a quorum. Then we do have a quorum tonight because we have 5 out of our 8 committee members here. So we do have a quorum. Okay.
That's weird because they can.
Who's online besides people I can see?
Nobody.
No one.
Oh, so we 5 are it.
Yes.
Okay. I got confused when I was reading because I saw faces in the room and clicks on lines, but I understand. Okay. I'll get this one up. Susan, I got everything finished except the last one.
Wow.
Get you right away so we don't pile up.
Great.
Thank you all.
All right. Good night, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Yeah. Same time? Oh, no, not the same time.
No, not the same time.
No.
All right. Is Mark still?